Hey everybody, it is September 14th. It's a Saturday night. I'm bored, so I decided to do podcast number 80. I'm leaving in the morning to go watch the Packers lose to the mighty Indianapolis Colts at Lambeau Field. It's going to be spectacular. So I'm going to get one of these recorded before a glorious victory. Um, so I got a few things. This one is primarily going to be tennis. I got a bunch of rando stuff, but I decided I've been doing a lot of teaching lately and got some stuff that I think is valuable. So we're gonna get right into it with primarily tennis stuff, um, and most of it is sort of motivated, inspired, stolen by church, going to church. So I'll get into that in a second. I had one thing that I thought was interesting that I saw somewhere on social media, but it said a coach's job is to bring order into chaos. And I thought that was interesting because I've got groups, I've got a few, and some of you that maybe listen to this are in them. I have some groups every once in a while that I sort of tell them that I'm unnecessary at that moment. They don't need me. They don't need a lesson, a class, because they're actually playing well and it's doing it correctly. And I'll get responses like, very nice. We still need you, and wait a few minutes, and we'll all go down the tubes. And um, I think that bringing order to chaos is important because I think a good coach creates environments that help you have better days. So a good coach's job is to create situations that you succeed in, I believe. And but sometimes I think a coach just has to shut up and back off and let them play. And I've had groups that I've told them, I've got nothing to say. Let's just keep going. Let's see how long you can maintain this level or this skill that we're trying to work on. And when it goes wrong, I think that's when a coach can step in and get things back on track. But bringing order to chaos, I thought, was a good way to describe what all coaches do, not just tennis. Lots of people, whether it's large groups or a large team, things are going wrong. The coach's job is to be the one person who can get it back on track. So I kind of like that idea of being able to bring back bring people back from difficult situations, and chaos is a good word. Another tennis one. This is old. This is from the Olympics. Some of these things you may have heard me post on Instagram or Facebook on some reels. I'm trying to do some more short videos, so my podcast has been a little delayed because I'm kind of getting my thoughts out in individual segments. But this one is about Noah Lyles, the American who is currently the fastest man in the world, and he won the 100 meters at the Olympics. And what was cool about it is at 10 meters, he was in last place. At 20 meters, he was in last place. At 30 and 40 meters, he was in last place, dead last. And he won the race. And he barely won it, but he won it. And I thought it really showed how he knew how to pace himself, and that the first 40 minutes didn't matter to him because he knew where the important parts were. And I've talked a lot about tennis players starting out too fast, and whether it's a match or a drill, I really don't care how you play in the first 5 minutes. The first 10 meters, you really care how you finish, right? Are you preparing yourself for the finish of that second set or the third set? But to go up 3-0 in tennis, not a big deal. 4-1, not that big a deal. It can be one break a serve, but be able to pace yourself and understand the important parts aren't in the beginning. The important parts are later in the sets, later in the matches, first break points, tiebreakers, add in, add out, and the beginnings don't care. So if the world's fastest human doesn't care about winning the first 40 meters, then you shouldn't either, because he's a better athlete than all of us, I think. Um, so I mentioned my church going, and so I'm not going to get into the religious part of it, but I am going to tell you that I've started going because they have awesome coffee. They've got donuts. My first visit to the church, I actually got to watch Tommy Boy, my favorite movie on earth. If it's not favorite, it's top three. I got to eat popcorn, drink coffee, and watch Tommy Boy, as it was an at the movies series taking movies and lessons from them. Believe it or not, it was a great lesson from Tommy Boy. But so that's why I started going. If anybody needs church, it's probably me at some points in my life. But I also like, and this is sort of a club lesson. I like that they leave me alone. I can go in, sit in the back. No one puts a spotlight on me. No one shakes my hand. No one asks me why I'm there or what I believe in. There's no stress. I don't have to turn to my neighbor and have chit chat and introduce myself. I can just go and be, and that suits me because if you know my stories in previous podcasts, training for half marathons every year or going to the gym, I find my treadmill and I get on it and I put my headphones and I don't talk to anybody. That's my time. It's my private time. I really don't spend a lot of time chatting with people. Um, if I know them well, yeah, but I like to just go. And so this gave me that opportunity. And I've had some conversations. I had it with Kayla on the last podcast. Um, our clubs meeting your needs from that standpoint, because clubs are so, they can be scary. Tennis clubs, fitness, whatever reason you're there, they can be scary. And some people just want to go in and not be bothered and find their own path. And this place has done that for me, plus the coffee. But I think if you're struggling at your club or wherever you play, whether and you just want to go at your pace, I think you should just tell them. If someone at my church came up to me, I'd probably tell them, "Listen, thanks, but I'd like to have this as my own time, and I'll come find you if I need some help or want to have a conversation." But anyway, this whole podcast I'm going to talk about has pretty much come from lessons I've learned from the services there, because I'm an evil person and I basically steal what the minister or pastor or whatever they call themselves now, I steal what they say and I turn it into tennis. And it may get me in trouble because I'll get my phone out and write notes on my phone as they're talking, which probably means I need to go back to church. Um, so the first one, and I did a post on this a couple of days ago. I thought was amazing, and this is originally by someone named George Bernard Shaw, and I put in my notes to look it up who that is, but I did not look it up. So someone else can tell me, and I'll do it after. I don't do that much research, but the quote was, "Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, and the pigs like it." And to me as a coach, that's just boom, it got me, because we've talked a lot about making good choices on the court, and I sort of turned it into, if you're playing a match and someone is better than you at something, don't wrestle with them. Don't start a fight. If they're bigger, stronger, faster, find another way, right? Because if you fight with them, they're going to enjoy it and you're going to lose. So some examples would be things that come up in the club. Lobbers, very common in my work, is I played a match and all they did was lob and it was awful. Well, that's your fault, as we've talked about before. If you know they're good at it, don't lob them. You're starting a fight with someone who's better than you. They have more skills than you. So why would you engage in a wrestling match with someone who you know is going to win? It just doesn't make sense, right? If someone's an amazing volleyer and their partner is a little weaker and you have a chance or a choice, don't engage that great volleyer in a net battle unless you are better than them, or at least neutral and have a chance to win. But if it's clear that they're better skilled in certain areas, stop playing to them. Don't wrestle with that person, because they're going to enjoy it and you're going to lose. When I played way back in the day, I was not a big hitter. I'd say a grinder, lots of spins, slice, dice, could volley well, not a huge serve. My matches needed to be long, drawn out, a lot of time, annoy my opponents, make them miserable, because I couldn't keep up with the pace. And matches that I can remember that I did try to bring the pace, I couldn't do it. It was silly. I'd get smoked because entered a battle that I couldn't win. And so many players will just, hey, this is fun. That's what I want you to remember too, is if you're going cross court forehands with somebody and you're enjoying yourself, but you know they're better than you, you've got to, if you want to win the match, you've got to say, all right, I got to get out of this. But I thought it was a really good one. So if you're playing me, don't get into a drop shot and lob battle. That's where I can still play, right? Put some pace on the ball and force me to handle it. I'm terrible at high forehands, right? I want shots down my ankles. So don't give me those. Put the ball up high with a little spin on it. But whoever you're playing, just stop starting fights. I told the group today, so my brother Mark, year and a half older, taller, bigger, stronger, growing up. I really couldn't start fights with him because I knew I would lose. So the things I can remember are things like once I threw a spoon at him, and I think I hit him in the face or broke his glasses or something, but I had an exit plan. And so I took off running and I hid at my buddy Mike's house because that's the only way I could fight was to, start it and then run away. But on tennis court, you can't run away. You've got to stay. So just think about that. That's great. Just find the pig and don't wrestle with them unless you're a better pig. And that's one of my strangest ones. But when I heard it, I was like, that's awesome. Another one, a church lesson. And these are just going to kind of go in order. This won't take very long. This one, I don't know who said it or if it was just the person that said it, created it, but it was a whole sermon on being offended. And one of the lines was, being offended is going to happen. Living offended is your choice. And it was, the whole talk was about social media basically, and people losing friends and killing relationships because you can't keep your mouth shut on social media. So I turned it into make sort of, instead of being offended, screwing up. Making mistakes is going to happen. It's guaranteed. You're not playing a perfect match. You're going to screw up. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to do something dumb. But living in that screw up is your choice. That's something you have control over, is you moving on and not carrying that with you. So I think being offended is you messing up. It's expected, but living in that and maintaining it and carrying it is not the way to go. So I'm probably going to have friends or acquaintances that use social media this next couple months as we go into a big election, and they're going to post things that I don't agree with. Now, I don't get offended at all. I just won't read it, or I'll read it and it won't bother me. I'll see that person and we'll be cool. I'm not going to live offended. I'm also not going to miss a forehand wide and for the next hour live in that world of being pissed off. And so being offended is going to happen. Living offended is a choice. You have a choice to move on. And you got to practice that stuff. And I did have a question from my buddy Vince about asking for some tips of how to move on. Well, I had, one response was I was taught, and I don't know who it was, but it was one of my coaches, might have been Famer, maybe Coach Murphy. I don't know, but someone taught me to say the score real quick because I was kind of, I wasn't who I am now. I was kind of a pain in the ass on the court, had a little temper. So someone taught me to say the score. So if I made a mistake, I would call the score immediately, because in the pro tennis world, once the umpire calls the score, the argument's over. They never go back. You don't go back once it's called. So the umpire, if you watch pro tennis, once that ref calls the score, there is no chance it's going back. That player should be quiet. It's impossible. 0% that they're going to, oh, great argument, I'm going to switch that around. It's over. So I learned to call the score. It's done. If you watch other players, they turn their back. They look at their strings, all kinds of stuff. I think you got to find your own. I do believe the score is a major one because maybe that puts it in perspective. If my friend Vince is really pissed off and then he checks the score and realizes he's up a set and 3-1, what are you so mad about? They're the ones that should be mad. So I think those are some ways you can kind of get around it. But I love that idea of not living in your mistakes. but knowing they're going to happen, but not living in them. Next one, never let yesterday use up too much of today. And it kind of goes with the being offended one is move on. All right, don't let your match yesterday screw up today's match. Learn from it, try to get better. Don't you let the first match of the day ruin the second match of the day. Practicing not letting the match you played in the morning and then you go to work and do your real life and you go back to your league match at night and you're still pissed off about the morning. Seems kind of silly, doesn't it? And being able to move forward on that. But those two kind of go together. Similar idea, I suppose. All right, my next one. See, I'm going quick. You can't yell at me because my last one with Kayla was really long and we could have talked forever. So I'm trying to make this a little short and stick to tennis. Um, this one came from church, and I don't have any idea what the lesson was, but I wrote it in my phone. It is lean into our uncertainty and chase possibilities. So lean into our uncertainty. That's a hard word. I got to find another word. And chase possibilities. To me, that's start practicing things that you're scared of. Changing your grip on your serve. The majority of our club has the wrong grip. They're all terrified. They think their world's going to end and they're never going to win again, and everyone's going to make fun of them. But they're now already being made fun of because your serve is crappy. So chase that possibility of, hey, if I change this and I put some time in and I listen to my coaches and I practice, I'm going to be better. But most players, they're not going to go to that uncertainty or uncomfortableness. I'm picking words that are difficult for me to say. So choose something. Here's your challenge. Choose something that one of your coaches has been bugging you about for years and do it. It's most likely a grip issue. Learn to hit topspin. If you're a baseliner, learn how to volley. Something that is needs to be done that's not in your toolbox that you're scared of. It's just tennis. What are you so scared of? You're going to lose a match? I think hopefully your world is good enough that you lose a tennis match, you go home and everything's cool. Your dog doesn't care. My dog Willie, he doesn't care if I teach good or teach bad. I come home and he's just happy I'm there, right? So pick something, lean into that thing that is difficult for you, and see what the possibilities are. I'm like, who's that guy? Tony Robbins? Isn't he a guy? I don't know. He might be in jail or something. I'm not sure. But all these things work. You just have to. I'm trying to throw out enough that you can find the ones that work for you. So do things now that you're going to lose in order to win big later. Little losses now could have big wins down the road. And you can work with your coach on how long that's going to take. All right, next one. I'm just about done, I think. Um, all minds have to see the whole task to contribute efficiently. And this is obviously, I'm thinking doubles. I teach primarily doubles. It's where my career has taken me. But all minds have to see the whole task to contribute efficiently. So you and your partner, you got to know what the goals are. Have that conversation. What are we trying to accomplish? And that answer is not winning. That's a given. We're trying to win. Unless you and your partner have a conversation and you decide you want to lose. But the goal is winning, right? So have a conversation, get together. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. We're both on board. Let's go. And when that plan goes down the crapper like it's going to, you go to the next plan. What's left? Rummage around your toolboxes until you find tools that complement each other, right? And that could be, hey, you're a great lobber. I'm great at overheads. I want you to engage them in a lob point. I'll hang back a little bit, smash a few overheads. I get all the glory, right? It could be we're going to attack both, full blast, put a little stress on them. We're going to play back, hang back and play defense. It doesn't matter. There's 1,000 ways you can do it, but you both got to be on board. If I'm playing with Tim and Tim says, hey, we're going to go full blast power. Let's let it rip. I'm going to tell him, cool, go for it, but I can't be on board with you. It's not my style. I don't have that skill. So we're going to have to come up with a way that, all right, Tim, when you're back, you crush it. I'll clean up at the net. All right, that's it. We're not both going to do it. So we have two minds going in the same thing. But you can't have one that wants to hit hard and one that wants to hit slow. unless you decide that's the plan and you set that up. But let's get both people on the same page, because I see a lot of doubles and it'll be one person thinking one thing and another trying another, and it typically doesn't end well unless you're both just more talented players. So next one, this one is a little off. So I was reading a book called something about Oxford, living at Oxford. It was about a true story about someone who went over to England and went to school at Oxford and was learning about life and religion and all that stuff. So it was a good book recommended by my friend Julie. Um, and I learned something about it. It's not a church thing, but they're talking about they have a lot of tea over there in England. They drink tea and crumpets. I think I ask every English person I know what a crumpet is. I think it's like a biscuit. I think they dip it in the tea, maybe. But so in England, you're taught to, when you get your tea in a fine china, which I do. I drink a lot of tea at my house and out of fine china while I'm reading my intellectual books. That's not true. I don't drink tea. But you keep the spoon in the cup. So you've got your fine china, you put your whatever sugar, creamer, stuff you put in it. You're supposed to keep the spoon in the cup because the spoon acts as a conductor of heat and keeps the fine china from cracking. So what I think happens is the heat of the tea runs through the spoon. It absorbs that, and it helps keep this expensive china from cracking on you. So you're supposed to keep the spoon in the cup. Again, you can guess where I'm going here, that as a player, you got to keep your spoon in the cup, meaning find a way to have something that keeps that negative, and that evil is the word that came to my head, but that's the wrong word. It's not evil. That negative energy, the frustration of you're angry, you want to break something, you're mad at your partner. If you find a way to keep the spoon in the cup, it might help you from cracking up, from you cracking and completely breaking down and losing a match because you can't control yourself. The thing I haven't worked out is, what is that spoon for people? For me, it's things like saying the score, um, knowing what the score of the match is, understanding it's a long term process to win a match. But whatever you can find to do to keep you from cracking. Your spoon might be staring at your strings, right? Turning your back, and you see some of the pros turn their back. They go to their towels. They jump around a little bit. They talk to their coaches. Whatever you need to do to keep that spoon around, to take away and absorb some of that anger you might have and frustration that's going to cause you to lose the match. So, anyway, I know that's probably a really dumb one, but keep the spoon in the cup. If I ever write a book, it's going to be called Spoon in the Cup. That's not a very good. Um, but it just taught you to not overreact, keep your cool, um, and be chill with that stuff. Um, so I know those are what, 4 or 5 sort of random things that I just threw out there, and that's just sort of what I want to talk about. It's what I've been teaching on the court lately. I'd encourage all of you, if you're looking for some inspiration on for yourself, or if you're a coach, read any book, watch a movie, go to church, go to a speaker, go to something, and just steal things. There's not a whole lot that I hear that I can't turn into tennis. And I do have a challenge from a friend of mine on Facebook, because I posted yesterday that it came out that they are remaking Goonies with mostly the original cast. And if you're my age, Goonies was one of those life, not changing movies, but it was part of your growing up, right? A group of kids, they were my age, going on an adventure. I would every kid I knew wanted to be part of the Goonies. So that's coming back. They're going to do Goonies 2, not for a couple years. Looks like 2026, 2027. But someone gave me a challenge to find a construct a tennis lesson using something from the Goonies. So that's my new challenge. I'm going to watch it again, and I'm going to come up with something next time that we can use from one of the best movies ever. All right, I think that's it. So, lastly, you can see these on YouTube. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I'd love your comments. Like to talk to people. If you're ever around the WAC, stop in to see me. And that's all I got. Go Colts. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye.